Hi everyone, please do me a favor to send your last message to your mom, girlfriends and boyfriends. I promise the following 5 minutes will be interesting. Today, we will see the effectiveness of one of the Sustainable Development Goals proposed by the United Nations. The target we discuss is to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all by 2030. This target is under Goal 11, which is about sustainable cities and communities.
It is interesting to know why a sustainable transport system is important in developing a sustainable city. Transport provides the connections for the hubs. It delivers an increasingly safe and more resilient network. The connections are not only social, but also economic. The increased mobility and more effective time usage offer opportunities for people to facilitate economic development and enhance quality of life. Therefore, a sustainable transport system gives a positive contribution to the social, economic, and environmental sustainability to its serving hub. In fact, the transport sector is responsible for 1/4 of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. To create long-lasting impacts on sustainable urban development, transportation must be viewed and integrated as an essential element. To implement the target, the indicator proposed by the United Nations is the proportion of the population that has convenient access to public transport. Despite there are lots of elements contributing to a transport system, like policies, infrastructure, land use planning, we only focus on the role of public transport, that is the unit of carriage. Because most of us will have the experience on taking the public transport, and it is relatively easier to be explained and understood.
Hong Kong is a highly developed city with excellent transport network. Despite processing rapid economic development, the private car ownership is still far below that of other developed cities, with only 63 private cars per 1,000 people. Due to the fact that Hong Kong is a densely populated city with limited provision of land, and the accessibility and coverage of public transport are very high, citizens greatly rely on the public transport like MTR, bus, and minibus. It accounts for 80% of the transport mode share. And other reasons for Hong Kong citizens taking public transport is that the cost of owning private car is relatively high. Fuel costs, parking, registration, and vehicle license fees accumulate to a large sum of expenses for owning a private car.
Yet, having similar economic development as Hong Kong, Chicago, a city in the United States, illustrates a much lower utilization rate of public transport, which only accounts for 16% of their population. Instead, Chicago citizens depends on private car as there is adequate land for parking, vehicle registration taxes, and fuel costs are relatively cheaper. For every 1,000 people in Chicago, there are 720 private cars.
In Nairobi, a city in Africa, where poverty is a severe problem, only 15% of the people can afford owning private vehicles. Meanwhile, public transport only accounts for 36.3% due to poor transport planning, lack of road infrastructures, and inadequate public transports. Therefore, the majority of the people rely on walking as the dominant means of transport. Transportation infrastructures are not likely to be built unless foreign countries agree to provide financial support.
So what can we do to reach the target by 2030? Let's look at the vehicle first. The size can be lengthened to increase the occupancy. By doing so, cost per passengers can be lowered, making it more affordable. Meanwhile, it can also be electrified in order to become zero emission, which is more environmental friendly. Autopilot is also a way to enhance road safety as human error can be minimized, hence reducing the amount of accidents. At the same time, special devices should also be installed to take care of people in need and elderlies. When we look bigger, every city should have a master plan regarding its transport system. For instance, increase the number of bus stops, make it more accessible to the public, and to introduce infrastructure regarding bicycle in order to encourage zero-emission transport mode. If we look even bigger, connection between cities and nations should also be well designed. In global level, well-developed nations should collaborate and provide financing, technology, and expert in planning to less developed nations. However, different cities are having different unique circumstances in leading to today's transport system. Some of them are hindered by the city's fundamental problems like poverty, poor governance, and lack of transport planning, which have to be solved in order to achieve the target. Some cities are hindered by their culture and value. This institutional change can achieve the target if only there are crises, external forces, and waking up. Therefore, we think that the target is too ambitious and might not be achievable by 2030. Thank you for watching.